So hope everyone is not so hungry. I'll be very fast and just so you guys can go to dinner after that. Okay, so my topic is the network state, entering the network state, and the revolution and future of the social network. So as you know, this thing is being written in 1996, the year I was born. The year I was born is not important, right? And but this masterpiece is very important. This thing is called Independence, a Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace, written by John Perry-Barrow, co-founder of EFF, Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is one of the pioneering NGO back in the 90s, suing a lot of cases against the United States government. And obviously they win a lot of cases. That's why we have the freedom of some kind of freedom of the internet and some kind of freedom of cryptography today. So he wrote in 1996 in Switzerland, Davos, February, the government of industrialized world, your weary giants of flesh and steel, I came from cyberspace, the new home of mind. You have no sovereignty or where we gather. So that's basically one of the, I don't know, like one of the founding masterpiece of our industry, even before the modern cryptography was born. But later, as I mentioned, EFF become one of the foundational player fight against the DoD and Department of Defense and Department of Commerce, and win some fundamental war. That's the past. So what is the future? And what is the takeaway from 1996, right, the year I was born, and obviously that's been around almost 30 years now. So takeaway from Barrow's speech, from Barrow's declaration in 1996 is we have one goal, very easy to understand, is to create some kind of independence thing. It could be a state, it could be an organization, it could be some kind of independence thing over the cyberspace, superseding the nation state. Well, that's quite clear, the goal. It's been 27 years. And the battle is also quite clear, that we are in this great civil war that we are battling. And this is quote from Abraham Lincoln, that testing whether any of us can long survive. And the question is not the fight. The question is not the war. It's how we pick and fight the war, right? And obviously we already win some war. We already win some war over the underlying blockchain, on the financial freedom. But we are also losing some war. We're losing some war over the social network, over the censorship. So how to fight the war and how to pick our ally? That's the battle, right? And the other thing is our comrade, our role model. And soon after this declaration, there's something called cypherpunk mail list that the first generation cypherpunk gathered, including the Satoshi Nakamoto. Maybe he's a man, a female, doesn't matter, angel, whatever, a piece, AI. He's also part of this cypherpunk mail list, and including other great pioneers like Edward Snowden, Aaron Swartz, and Julia Assange. They're all in the list. And that's some of our previous role model, and that's the past, right? And then eventually, again, as mentioned, the goal is very clear, and the mission is also very clear. This is another quote from Lincoln, that we should have let the governance of the people, by the people, for people, never purge from the earth, from the cyberspace. So yeah, so what we are having right now, I will just go back to my own company and my own stuff later on, but what we have right now, if we really look into the human history, from a very interesting perspective, we're kind of like in a digital feudalism. The feudalism, which refers close to the medieval feudalism, that you have kings, you have kingdoms, you have knights, you have all these things. So the digital feudalism that we are having a very interesting phenomenon, that every big giants today, they're just kind of like the East India Company. So East India Company is the European superpower these days, in that days, try to colonize China and India and all these other places. It's formed as a company, right? It's formed as a company. They have stocks, and Sir asking you to even trade some of their stocks in the London Exchange. So they have stocks, pretty cool, just like tokens, and they form as a private company, but they're licensed by the sometimes European superpower to systematically colonize a place they just discovered. You can call it new continent, or you can call it whatever, doesn't matter. So today, those big tech companies are pretty much like the East Indian companies. So like Tencent is the Chinese East Indian company. By the way, there's many East Indian company back in the days. The important ones are the British ones, right? But like, for example, right now we have the Chinese East Indian company for cyberspace, Tencent or Alibaba, and the American East Indian company for cyberspace, maybe Facebook or I don't know, Twitter. Twitter maybe not the case. But that's the very interesting historical parallel we're going to see. And we are at the very interesting stage. People call it Web 3.0, right? But I think that's the kind of like the phase third of the colonization, and that's the time we start to get independence. So the first stage, Web 1.0, is we just start to discover this new amazing new continent, right? Just like the Europeans start to discover, oh, there's a place called America, pretty cool, let's go. And that's the first stage, right? And it's like, all are these cool people gonna go to cyberspace, right? Usually not really those people for colonization, just say, oh, this is a cool place, let's go. And they don't really treat it well in the old place. Well, that's Web 1.0, in my opinion. And Web 2.0 is they start to fight each other. They start to form this kind of like different colonized state, right? Say, oh, this is the colonized state from the Great British Empire. This is the colonized state from the King Louis from France. Which is what they having right now, that they frame each other as spy. Say, hey, dude, Tito is a spy because you're from the King Louis, right? And we're from the another king, so we're not spy. So that's what's happening right now in the Web 2.0. It's the second stage of colonization, honestly. And the third stage, we use this term Web 3.0, but honestly, I think it's just like if you ever watch the Star Wars, is these Jedi start to kind of like have rebellion. So Web 3.0 is, I think, rebellion start to gather together, and they start to gather and form their own community. And this is my own background. Before I jump full-time in crypto, I'm more an activist or hacktivist. So people use technology and engineer knowledge to do activist stuff. So I wrote this thing called Anti-96 license back in 2018, 2019, and directly shit Jack Ma, and also get his like backfire in China. And this thing get covered by all this international media, Reuters, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. If you're interested, search it. But this is a battle case in the traditional world, not in the cyberspace. But I think this thing can also happen in the cyberspace. How? So everyone probably heard of the kind of like cliche word network state from Balazs, right? And he's been mentioning this thing over a year now. So yeah, what he's trying to say, or what he's and his like previous pioneers trying to say is like, oh, we will have kind of like a new power structure, that in this new power structure, we will not have like intervene from other nation state, really cool. And we can have all these technologies able to build this thing. So what we have right now, Bitcoin sounds like a piece of land, sounds like a continent, or Ethereum layer 1 sounds like a continent that is hard to destroy. You cannot destroy a continent. You probably can just let people move away from this continent, but you can never destroy it. It's just being there. So then we have some kind of financial freedom. We kind of like have people trade on top of this, the new continent and colonized state. People are going to trade there. So that's why we have ICOs and DeFi's, right? That people start to think, oh, we maybe want to trade freely on this new continent. Then it's kind of stuck there. Since 2020, 2021, people have many other interesting things, GameFi, NFT, Web3 SocialFi, all these like buzzword. But it seems like we lost the we lost this like grand plan. What's the great plan? How can we use this technology to achieve the final goal, the independence of the cyberspace, and how this contribute to the governance of the people, for people, by the people, right? There's no master plan. So I happen to have some kind of pieces for this master plan. So which is why I start this thing. I will introduce later on. And I got this idea firstly from Julia Assange, that our task is to secure self-determination, where we can all hold back the upcoming dystopia, where we cannot And if we all those fail to accelerate, it's self-destructive. Um, so yeah, okay. How can we do this? Okay, finish the network state 101. How can we do this? I really need a plan. So we are here, as I mentioned, we are kind of like have the currency stage, and we have our like DeFi thing, very cool. We have our like ICO thing. Everyone can kind of launch their own token, very cool. Yeah, what's the needed thing for a country? If we want to start a country, what is other like 1 or 2, 3 pieces we need to go? So I think it's the relationship between the product force and production relationships. By the way, if you learn some like left wing, whatever socialist ideology, this is quite common terminology. Product force and production relations. So AI are now the big topic, right? Everyone switched to AI, every VC switched to AI, they kind of abandon Web3. So AI is obviously bring you more efficiency, right? You can work better with the AI. Everyone with one open AI, $20 per month, you can make it work better. So that's definitely the product force. But never change the production relations. So the relation between you and the worker and the other laborers contribute to the data source was never changed when you use just a pure AI product. So that's why decentralization and Web3 is needed. And as I mentioned, we are kind of in this weird stage. We have all this financial infra, I think, almost ready. And then what's next? And why is the NFT, become quite booming in last 2 years? Why is there GameFi? And why are these important and an important contributor to the future of our state, future of our network state? So I will use like a historical example because again, people are hard to imagine the future if they don't know the history. So I was using the historical comparison of the new continent, and European company colonized American, and then they got some independence. People want to do independence. So now I'm going to use another history story. Probably you guys know better in Asia. It's from my hometown, from China. So question, who's the first Chinese guy to do ICO? Okay, a hint, his last name is Sun, and obviously not Justin Sun. So yeah, Dr. Sun Yat-sen, well, that's my opinion, not from the historical book. But Dr. Sun Yat-sen did a lot of like token sale or coin sale back in 1985. That was the Qing Dynasty, which you have like old lady have no idea what he's doing. It become the empress of the China. And Dr. Sun, he's very smart. He discovered the powerful use case of the first one of the first and longest history DAO, Chinatown. Oh, Chinatown is very very DAO. Okay, you got someone everywhere. They just gather together, and you have no idea what they're doing. They just gather together and eat some Chinese food. And you go to every Chinatown, you're gonna find the old guy, like a kung fu master. These guys like the treasury managers. They don't use banks. They don't use banks until very lately. They just trust their old guy, and they have like this treasury management. I don't know how they do it. Very cool. It's like a DAO. And you have their sub DAO, right? That YGG, you have the YGG Japan, IndyGG. Well, I mean, that's definitely copy paste from Chinatown, because Chinatown have all these like different kind of, I don't know idea how they manage to communicate. By the way, that's the time few people can afford the Telegram, the real Telegram. Few people can afford that, so I have no idea how they able to connect. Maybe they're from the same ancestor 200 years ago. So yeah, Dr. Sun discovered this thing called Chinatown, very cool. And he discovered another thing is called printing, also very cool. In our modern world, it's called minting. So he discovered that the modern printer can print money, print paper as money, very cool. And he just signed it, use his hand. Well, not use the cryptography wallet, but what he discovered is like, oh, I found a DAO and it's everywhere, and people generally hate this like fucking old emperor, whatever, and they generally have the treasury management, and they generally have my money. And I also discovered new technology that can print money as long as I sign it. So he just print a lot of the Chinese Revolution coin since 1895 to 1911. That's around 16 years. He did 10 to 11 ICOs. Well, he just bought a new printer everywhere, big ones, and paper ink. Chinese Revolution coin come out, and he just sell the coins to fund the revolution. And well, that's the ICO and the DeFi, okay? Very easy. By the way, all these different coins can convert to each other. So if you buy the old Dr. Sen's #1 revolution coin and he failed the first revolution, you can convert into the #2 one, just like DeFi. You know, pool 1, pool 2, whatever. You can mint another coin based on his like a new revolutions. And he also discovered NFT. Wow, that is also a very interesting thing. That thing is called Telegram. Not the app we use every day, but the technology at that time was just invented and got some mass adoption. That oh, you know, we can use the Telegram to send over information, and then we can have like local people print all the things for us. It sounds like NFT. Well, and we can monetize them. We can sell them much more cheaper because like tokens are again for those OGs and whales, not easy to buy. NFT, oh yeah, I mean, just for breakfast money. As long as you don't buy those cyber monkeys, you know, just buy those cheap ones, everyone can afford it. So yeah, he discovered this like Minpao, which is one of the first revolution newspaper in the Chinese history. I believe actually in the first, one of the first revolution newspaper in the whole Asian history. That he said, oh yeah, this technology is really cool. Those like Chinatown OG can buy our coin, but if those who don't afford, we can just buy our NFT. And also you can learn something from it. It's a pass, right? If you hold this like new revolution newspaper and working, people will know, wow, you're from the cool party, okay? You're from the cool revolution party, you're different. And the girls will fall loving with you, you know, because you're obviously different than the other China guy. So yeah, great. So that's the thing he also invented, NFT. So that's also contribute massively to the create of a new country. So a little bit introduction of our own business. So as you may know, I'm the founder of Mass Network. We've been doing social network from 2017. That's a little bit 6 years now. We've been behind this like Mass Network token, Mass Network protocol. We've been everywhere, and then we also do other stuff, right? Because again, people need to have easy access to this kind of like newspaper thing. So we have an all-in-one app called Firefly. This is a QR code here. And we have a DID protocol called Next.id. You can just search Next.id. So the DID is also very easy. So when you subscribe a newspaper in 1895, basically you have a DID, okay? Because they know your address, okay? Somehow your address, and they know your relationship. So you're like the second uncle of the student in the town, so they know who you are. It's like ENS, right? Okay, from which chain you have a name, and this name have the .eth or .bnb, doesn't matter. So that's pretty much the first DID, and we are kind of learning this trend. So yeah, we want to do the aggregator of DIDs. That's also one of the business. So again, we think it's also not enough, right? Because when you really study the Chinese Revolution or the American Revolution, you're going to find that, okay, all these guys there to do revolution, they're kind of rich, okay? They're from the family or from whatever, they're kind of rich, have no idea. Or they got investors, right? I don't know, and I think like, oh, it's very important if someone try to do some revolution stuff and the VC is just like too scary, and they just like, oh, I love AI, and they just run away. So I think, yeah, okay, we want to help them, and then that's why we have like our venture arm. We call it Bonfile Union. The name Bonfile is from the movie and comic V for Vendetta. Remember 5th of November? That's the Bonfile Festival from well, that was not the British Empire, from the England, right? Recommend to watch the movie again. Really good one. So we have the Mass Network, the protocol, and a lot of products over there. And we have our Bonfile Union to systematically fund the cyberspace revolution. So without a systematic funding, I believe all these revolution will not happen in the past 200 years. And we are lucky that we live here today, that it's a world that with better technology and better human rights, that a lot of people founded this revolution 200 years ago. And this is what I believe, and also this is a quote from John. He passed away a few years ago, again, the co-founder of EFF. I believe we'll create a civilization of mind in cyberspace, made it be more humane and fair than the world your governments have made before. So this is my content, Suji, and follow me on Twitter. Feel free to ask any questions. So I think we are pretty much in this very interesting point. that we may witness, in a few decades, we may witness this birth of the new nation. Thank you.